I make 60,000 yen a month and handed every cent to my mom to manage. Meanwhile, we lived on cabbage and tofu, and my wife could barely afford sanitary pads. When I complained about the miserable meals, my wife looked at me with red-rimmed eyes and finally told me the truth. Your mom only gives me 300 yen a month for the entire household. We're lucky to eat this much. When I heard that, I slapped her across the face. Mom said she gives you 30,000 a month? Have you been sending it all to your own family? She looked up at me, her eyes filled with despair. 30,000, I've never seen a cent of it. That was when I realized the truth behind my 60,000 yuan salary was far messier than I had ever imagined. My name is Li Hao. I make 60,000 yuan a month, and I handed the whole paycheck to my mother, Liu Mei. You young people spend money like water. I'll manage it all for you. I'm doing this for your little family. I believed her, and my wife Zhou Yue didn't object either. That evening, Zhou Yue had dinner ready. 2 dishes and a soup, vinegar cabbage, mapo tofu, and seaweed egg drop soup. Again? I frowned without thinking. For half a month, not a single piece of meat had appeared on our table. I put down my briefcase and sat at the table. Work nearly killed me today. I picked up my chopsticks and shoveled in a mouthful of rice. Eat before it gets cold. Zhou Yue placed a bowl of soup beside me. It was warm, never hot enough to burn. She was always thoughtful, yet for some reason irritation kept rising inside me. I wasn't really angry at her. I was angry at the bland food. Why is there no meat again? I complained casually, chewing a crisp but boring piece of cabbage. Under the bright dining room light, I saw her shoulders trembling, and I grew impatient. What's wrong? Did I say something wrong? Nothing. Her voice was soft and thick with tears. Only then did I notice her eyes were red. What's going on? If you don't want to cook, say so. We can hire someone. My tone softened. Zhou Yue looked up and tears suddenly rolled down her cheeks. Li Hao. Her eyes held hurt, exhaustion, and a trace of despair I couldn't understand. Your mom only gives me 300 yen a month for household expenses. What? I thought I'd misheard. 300. She repeated it quietly, but it hit me like thunder. It's barely enough to buy cabbage. I froze. 300? Impossible. My mother, Liu Mei, the woman who always said everything she did was for her son, couldn't possibly give her only 300. No way, I blurted out. Doesn't my mom give you 30,000 every month? I remembered it clearly. When I handed my salary card to Mom, all 3 of us were there. She held Zhou Yue's hand and laid everything out. I'll save Xiao Hao's salary for you. Every month I'll transfer 30,000 yuan to Xiao Yue for household expenses. I'll save the rest for a bigger home, children, and whatever else you need later. Zhou Yue had even nodded. How could Mom lie to me? Zhou Yue looked at me with a bleak smile. 30,000? She sounded as if she'd heard the biggest joke in the world. I've never received it. I stared at her, searching her face for any sign of a lie. There was none. Only endless sadness. Then I remembered Zhou Yue hadn't bought new clothes in ages. Her shoes were from our wedding, and the only thing on her vanity was a nearly empty bottle of cheap moisturizer. I'd always assumed she was naturally frugal. Now I understood. It wasn't thrift. It was poverty. Poverty I had created with my own hands. It felt as if an invisible hand had crushed my heart so hard I could barely breathe. The cabbage and tofu on the table suddenly looked unbearable. Every bite of those meatless meals felt like a slap in my face. Anger, guilt, and the icy sting of betrayal swept through me all at once. I shot to my feet. I'm calling my mom right now! My fingers shook so badly I could barely unlock my phone. Don't call her. I turned back to look at Zhou Yue. She had wiped away her tears. All that remained in her eyes was numb calm. It's useless. She'll never admit it. Her words hit me like a bucket of ice water. She was right. Mom would deny everything, accuse Zhou Yue of turning us against each other, and start another family war. Caught in the middle, I might still instinctively believe Mom, just as I always had. I sank back into my chair, staring at her number glowing on my phone. Tell me everything. I looked at Zhou Yue, my voice hoarse. She stayed silent for a long time, as if reliving memories she wished she could bury. Starting the 2nd month after you gave her the salary card, she came over on the 1st of every month. She never transferred money. She handed me 300 yuan in cash. She said a good wife had to budget carefully, and that 30,000 in my account would only tempt me to waste it. Zhou Yue spoke calmly, without accusation, as if she were telling someone else's story. But every word sent another stab through my chest. Every time she came, she checked the fridge and every household expense. If she saw meat, she called me wasteful. If I bought new clothes, she'd remind me how hard you worked and say I cared too much about dressing up. So I stopped buying anything, and meat disappeared from the fridge. I couldn't imagine how she had lived for 2 years, keeping a home respectable in a major city on just 300 yuan, while I, her husband earning 60,000 a month, knew absolutely nothing. Then why didn't you tell me? My voice trembled despite my efforts to control it. Zhou Yue looked at me, and the look in her eyes made me want to disappear. If I had told you, would you have believed me? You would have said I was making trouble, that I couldn't tolerate your mother, and that I was trying to destroy your relationship with her. I had no answer because she was right. Even if she'd told me before dinner that very day, my first reaction would have been disbelief. I'm sorry. I lowered my head. Those 2 words were light as feathers, yet heavy enough to keep me from lifting my head. Zhou Yue shook her head and went into the bedroom. When she returned, she carried an old notebook. She placed it in front of me. The first page was filled with neat handwriting, recording every single expense. February 1st, income 300 yen, groceries cabbage 2.3, tofu 4, eggs 5, total 11.8, utilities 135, medicine for the child's cold 35, remaining balance 112. Line after line, each entry was as sharp as a knife in my heart. I turned the pages with shaking hands. Every month's income was clearly written as 300 yen. On one page I even saw sanitary pads 12.9 yen, in parentheses, saved 3 yen with a coupon. My eyes burned. While I thought my wife was living comfortably, she was calculating how to save 3 yen with a coupon, and I had still complained that she never cooked meat. I was a complete jerk. I'm going to confront her. I slammed the notebook shut and started to stand. Then what? Jo Yue held my hand down. We have a huge fight. She denies everything and insults me. Then you tell me to be generous and put up with it. She looked at me calmly. Lee Hao, I don't want to keep replaying that scene. I froze. She was right. Then what? I had no proof. Mom could claim Jo Yue fabricated the notebook. What could I confront her with? Then what do we do? For the first time, I felt utterly powerless. Jo Yue withdrew her hand and said slowly, If you truly want to solve this, don't tip her off. Her tears were gone. In their place was the calm of someone with nothing left to lose. 2 years of suffering had hardened the strength inside her. Starting tomorrow, act like nothing happened. Agree with whatever she says. But first, you need evidence. I nodded solemnly, okay? Jo Yue took back the notebook. Pain flickered across her face, then determination. I'll make a copy. Lee Hao, I want you to see with your own eyes where your 60,000 yuan salary has been going. The next day, I went to work as usual. I sat at my desk in a daze while messages flashed in the company chat. I couldn't read a word. All I saw was that notebook and Jo Yue's calm, hopeless eyes. Just after 10, my phone rang. The screen said, Mom. I took a deep breath and answered. I tried to sound completely normal. Hello? Mom. Hey, son. Her voice was as warm and cheerful as ever. You're at work, right? I'm not interrupting anything? No, I just finished a meeting. It was a lie. Good. I just wanted to see how work's going. Are you tired? Take care of yourself and don't push too hard. She showered me with concern. In the past, it would have warmed my heart. Today, it sounded fake and cold. I'm fine. Not tired, I replied. Good. You focus on your career. I'll manage everything at home and keep it running perfectly. You and Xiao Yue don't know how to budget. I'm helping you save. I gripped the phone until my knuckles turned white. I wanted to demand where the savings were and ask how she treated Jo Yue. But I held back. Jo Yue was right. I needed proof. Right. We'd be lost without you, Mom. I played along. Liu Mei sounded pleased. Exactly. By the way, I checked your salary account at the bank a few days ago. The manager printed the statements and even praised how well I've handled your money. My heart sank. Bank statements? Why had she suddenly checked them? Oh, really? I kept my voice as steady as possible. Of course. Son, I've used every cent exactly where it mattered. I remember every transaction. I said nothing and quietly listened to her performance. By the way, Xiao Yue hasn't been complaining to you lately, has she? Her tone suddenly shifted. There it was, the real reason for the call. She was testing me. My mind raced. She has. The other end went silent. Oh? What did she say? A hint of caution crept into Liu Mei's voice. She keeps saying there isn't enough money and wants to buy some meat. I deliberately sounded annoyed. Mom, are you giving her too little? Maybe give her more next month? I had tossed the ball back to her. I wanted to hear how she'd defend the 30,000 yuan lie. What? Liu Mei's voice shot up. Not enough? I give her 30,000 every month. What more does she want? Listen, son. Your wife spends too much and always wants more. Keep an eye on her. Don't let her secretly send your money to her parents. The ease with which she lied and twisted everything chilled me. If I hadn't seen the notebook, I might have believed her and started suspecting Jo Yue. A deep cold spread from my feet to the top of my head. Don't worry. I haven't touched a cent of your money. I've saved it all. Your brother Li Wei is getting married and is a little short on the down payment. Your father and I are using our own retirement savings to help him. I swear I never touched your money. She mentioned Li Wei and the down payment. A terrible suspicion formed in my mind. Okay, Mom, I understand. I'll talk to her. I ended the call quickly and sat frozen for a full 5 minutes. I opened a banking app I had barely ever used. Mom knew the password, but so did I. I logged in. The balance was only 3,215.70 yen. My heart sank lower with every digit. I opened the transaction history and scrolled line by line. On the 5th of every month, my 60,000 yuan salary arrived. On the 6th, without fail, 57,000 yuan was transferred to Li Wei, my own younger brother. I kept scrolling. There was another transfer every 6th, 3,000 yuan to Liu Mei, my mother herself. Not one payment had ever gone to Jo Yue. The supposed 30,000 yuan household allowance had been a complete lie from the start. For 2 years, I, the so-called provider of the family, had been a joke. When I got home, the living room light was on. Jo Yue sat silently on the couch with the TV off, waiting for me. When she saw me, she stood. "You're back." I walked over but couldn't say a word. I only handed her my phone. The bank statement was still on the screen, and every glaring transfer felt like another needle in my heart. Chu Yue took the phone and lowered her eyes. She studied every page carefully. The living room was terrifyingly quiet, broken only by the faint sound of her scrolling. I didn't know what she was thinking, anger, grief, or the numbness of someone who had expected this all along. Finally, she finished. She turned off the screen, placed the phone gently on the coffee table, and looked up. There was none of the emotion I'd expected in her eyes, only bottomless calm. "Now you've seen everything." I nodded, my throat tight. "I'm sorry," was all I could say, but 2 years of pain could never be repaired by those words. Zhou Yue shook her head. "Li Hao, apologies are useless now. We need to take back what belongs to us." I nodded firmly. "Tell me what we need to do." In that moment, I handed her complete control. I knew she understood Liu Mei far better than I did. Everything I had believed for more than 20 years had collapsed in a single day. Zhou Yue walked to the window and looked into the night. "The bank statements are evidence, but not enough. She can say you agreed to give the money to your brother. She can even claim you personally gave her the password and told her to make the transfers. Knowing her, that's exactly what she'll say." Every word hit the mark. My mother really was that kind of person. She would say anything to escape blame. "Then what do we do?" I asked anxiously. Zhou Yue turned and fixed me with a burning stare. "We need evidence she can't deny. Something that records her admitting everything in her own words. An audio recording." I understood immediately. This time, we would make her explain exactly where the 60,000 went. She would repeat the 30,000 yuan lie herself, then expose it with her own words. I looked at my wife and suddenly barely recognized her. The quiet, obedient Zhou Yue seemed to have grown armor overnight, but I knew it hadn't happened overnight. More than 700 days of humiliation and endurance had forged this calm strength. Alongside my guilt, I felt admiration and a deep ache for her. "Okay." I stepped forward and gently held her cold hand. "This time I'll follow your lead. We'll end this together." There were 3 days left until the 1st of the month. Zhou Yue and I spent them preparing for the confrontation. The next morning, I took half a day off, claiming there was an emergency at work. Instead of going to the office, I went to an electronics market and bought a new voice recorder and a tiny camera disguised as a power bank. 2 backups meant fewer chances for failure. When I returned, Zhou Yue was cleaning. The apartment was spotless, as if she were preparing for a solemn ceremony. I showed her the devices. She checked them carefully and nodded. The recorder would go in the pen cup on the coffee table. The fake power bank would sit on the TV stand facing the couch. She planned every detail with chilling precision. We rehearsed several times where Mom would probably sit, what she might say, and how we should respond. Ju Yaka told me, "Don't deliberately take the day off. Come home at your normal time. If your arrival seems staged, she'll get suspicious. Play the furious husband who just learned the truth and came home to demand answers. I'll keep playing the hurt daughter-in-law who's too afraid to fight back. You provoke her. I'll act weak until she gets smug and blurts out the truth." I looked at her with mixed emotions. She could calculate human behavior so precisely only because my mother had forced her to learn. "I'm sorry you had to go through this." Zhou Yue shook her head and said nothing. Time moved both quickly and painfully slowly. At last, the day that would decide everything arrived. On the morning of the 1st, I couldn't sit still at work and kept checking my phone. At 9:58, Zhou Yue sent one word: "Come." I immediately told my supervisor there was a family emergency and rushed out. I didn't drive straight home. I waited for the perfect moment to return. About 20 minutes later, my mother, Liu Mei, appeared carrying a cheap reusable market bag. She walked briskly into the building. I took a deep breath and started the car. I'd calculated it. She needed about 15 minutes to lecture Zhou Yue and get worked up. I would enter at that exact moment, playing the son who had accidentally walked in on everything. I parked underground and watched the seconds tick by on my phone, my heart pounding. It was the first time in my life I had ever confronted my mother, and I was doing it through a setup. 15 minutes passed. I straightened my collar and made myself look tired, as if I'd rushed home from work. I got out, entered the elevator, and stepped onto my floor. At the door, I could already hear my mother's raised voice inside. "I'm giving you 300 wen because I'm generous, and you still dared complain to Li Hao that it wasn't enough? Zhou Yue, the Li family's money doesn't grow on trees." I took out my key. My hand shook, but the moment it entered the lock, it steadied, and my eyes went cold. Showtime. I threw the door open. "Mom, what did you just say?" 3 red 100 yuan notes lay on the coffee table, painfully bright. Hearing my voice, Liu Mei froze. The cruelty and anger on her face hadn't yet disappeared, making her look almost ridiculous. "Son, why are you home now?" Panic flickered in her eyes. I slammed my briefcase onto the entryway cabinet. "If I hadn't come back, I would have missed your honest little speech. 300 wen? Is this the 30,000 you claimed was for household expenses?" My voice shook with restrained fury. Liu Mei's expression changed, but she quickly regained her composure. She had years of experience talking her way out of trouble. "Perfect timing, son. You need to control your wife." She pointed at Zhou Yue and turned the blame around. I give her 30,000 every month, and she spends it in days. She asked for more again, so I gave her 300 to teach her a lesson. Then she ran crying to you to drive us apart. Her story was flawless. Without the bank records, I might have believed her and blamed Zhou Yue instead. I gave a cold laugh. Mom, you're saying you give Zhou Yue 30,000 every month? Of course. Liu Mei lifted her chin confidently. Would I lie to my own son? Fine. I turned to Zhou Yue. Mom says she gives you 30,000 every month. Have you received it? Zhou Yue looked up, tear tracks on her face. She glanced timidly at my mother, then shook her head. No. You're lying! Liu Mei exploded, pointing at Zhou Yue. You ungrateful liar! I've treated you so well, and you smear me in front of my son? I'll teach you a lesson. She raised her hand to slap Zhou Yue. I caught her wrist before she could and roared, Enough! Startled by my anger, Liu Mei stared at me. Mom, I'll ask you one more time. My voice was ice cold. My salary is 60,000 yuan a month, and it goes into the account you control, correct? She answered automatically. Yes. And every month you only gave Zhou Yue 300 yuan? No, I gave her 30,000, she insisted. Then where did the other 59,700 go? I pressed forward. Where's the money? Liu Mei's eyes began to dart away. I saved it for you, of course. Everything I did was for you. Saved it? I laughed, though my eyes stayed cold. Did you save it in Li Wei's account? The question struck like lightning. Liu Mei's face went white. How did you know? The instant the words escaped, she realized her mistake and covered her mouth. The room fell dead silent. A red light blinked on the camera disguised as a power bank, while the pen-shaped recorder in the coffee table cup kept running quietly. I stared at my mother's bloodless face. I felt no triumph, only endless sadness. I released her wrist and asked slowly, In your heart, what are Zhou Yue and I to you? For the first time, genuine panic cracked her carefully practiced mask. Shock, guilt, and anger at being exposed churned in her eyes. What do you mean? She raised her voice to hide her panic. You're my son! I carried you for 10 months. Everything I've ever done was for you and this family. She reached for her favorite weapon again. Family guilt. For this family? I sneered. The word sounded absurd coming from her. Does family mean only you, Dad, and Li Wei? What about me and Zhou Yue? Are we just tools to fund Li Wei's life? Each question hit her like a hammer. Her face grew paler until she finally snapped. What nonsense are you talking about? Her true colors were fully exposed. Li Wei is your own brother. He's getting married and buying a home. What's wrong with helping him? You make 60,000 a month. What's wrong with sharing some? Do you hate your own brother that much? If I choose to give it, that's help. I stared directly into her eyes. If you take it behind my back, that's theft. The word theft made her explode. You ungrateful son, she screamed, shaking with rage. You're attacking your own mother over an outsider. Then she turned on Zhou Yue. This is all your fault. Since you married into this family, there's been no peace. What spell did you put on my son to make him abandon his mother and brother? Her face twisted as she raised her hand at Zhou Yue again. This time, Zhou Yue didn't flinch. She sat quietly and watched my mother with the cold stare one might give a clown. I grabbed my mother's wrist again, hard enough to make her cry out. Mom, I said without warmth, from today on, you are no longer welcome in this home. She froze. She had probably never imagined that the son who always obeyed her would say those words. What did you say? Say that again. I said, get out. I dragged her toward the door. She kicked, struggled, and screamed, Li Hao, have you lost your mind? You're throwing me out? I'm your mother. I opened the door and pushed her into the hall. And one more thing. I stood over her. Every cent you've taken from my salary over the last 2 years comes back to me. Otherwise, I'll see you in court. I pointed toward the TV stand and coffee table. Everything that happened here was recorded. Her crying stopped instantly. She stared at the objects in the living room, terror filling her eyes. I gave her no time to react and slammed the door shut. The world went silent. I leaned against the door and slowly slid to the floor. Zhou Yue came over, crouched beside me, and gently wrapped her arms around me. It's over, she whispered. I buried my face in her shoulder, and the tears finally came. It wasn't weakness. It was the only release left after burying everything I'd believed for more than 20 years. We sat on the floor for a long time, until the sky outside began to darken. I wiped my eyes and looked up. Zhou Yue handed me a glass of warm water. Feeling better? Thank you. For what? For never giving up on me. Without her, I might have spent my entire life trapped in a fantasy of a loving mother and devoted son, living like a puppet, controlled by someone else and grateful for the strings. Zhou Yue smiled with a trace of relief. We're husband and wife. Those words carried more strength than any comfort. Yes, we were husband and wife, one team sharing every victory and every loss. I stood and helped her up. Let's inspect our evidence. I took the fake power bank from the TV stand and the recorder from the pen cup. We connected both devices to the computer. The video and audio files were intact. I opened the video. The picture was sharp and the sound clear. Every twist of greed and anger on my mother's face, every word she had spoken was captured perfectly. I stared at the screen and felt nothing anymore. How much is it in total? I opened the calculator on my phone. 60,000 a month for 24 months. 1.44 million yuan. Lu Mei took 3,000 monthly, totaling 72,000. Li Wei took 57,000 monthly, totaling 1.368 million, enough to buy a good apartment outright in a smaller city. Yet I had forced my wife to count every yuan just to save 3 with a coupon. We have to get that money back. Zhou Yu's voice was calm. She won't return it easily, and Li Wei definitely won't. I know. Zhu Yak nodded, and I understood what she meant. We can't deal only with your mother. She carried out the transfers, but the person who received and enjoyed the money was your brother, Li Wei. You mean we go straight to him? Yes. Zhou Yu looked at me firmly. We're going to tell him his free ride is over. Mom has probably already warned him. They may be planning how to deal with us right now. We can't give them time. Tomorrow we'll confront him face to face. This time, I won't soften. Li Wei's home and car may have been bought with my money. He had calmly enjoyed the life that belonged to Zhou Yue and me. It was time to make him give it all back. I opened a map app and entered Li Wei's address, the one Mom had proudly shared at our last family gathering. Your brother is so capable, he bought his own marital home. Looking back, the claim was almost laughable. Tomorrow, I would personally go there and reclaim everything that belonged to me. The next day was Sunday. Zhou Yue and I got up early. Instead of eating at home, we went to the best Cantonese dim sum place we could find and filled the table with shrimp dumplings, shumai, chicken feet, and tripe. All the dishes she used to love but hadn't eaten in 2 years. After breakfast, we didn't go home. I drove straight to Li Wei's place. It was a newly built luxury complex. In the elevator, I felt Zhou Yue squeeze my hand. I squeezed back. Don't be afraid, I'm here. She smiled. I'm not afraid. We rang the bell. After a long wait, the door opened. Li Wei froze. Brother? Sister-in-law, why are you here? His eyes darted away, refusing to meet mine. Mom had clearly warned him. Aren't you going to invite us in? Li Wei looked uncomfortable, but stepped aside. A woman in pajamas came out of the bedroom, his fiancée Wang Li. She looked surprised, too. Who's here? My brother and sister-in-law. Come in, have a seat. The living room was lavishly decorated. It was obvious the place had cost a fortune. I stood in the center, looked around, and said coldly, Li Wei. His expression tightened. I came for one thing. What is it, brother? Money. Wang Li's face changed. She glanced at Li Wei, then at me. What money? Brother, is there some misunderstanding? I turned to her. There is no misunderstanding. Over the last 2 years, Mom transferred 1.368 million yuan from my salary account to Li Wei. That money was mine, and now I want it back. Wang Li's smile froze. She stared at Li Wei in disbelief. Is that true? Li Wei's face turned dark red. After stammering for a while, he finally shouted, So what if it is? Mom gave it to me. I didn't steal or rob anyone. You're my brother. Your money is family money. What's wrong with me using some? So you think you did nothing wrong? I did nothing wrong, he shouted defiantly. Fine. I nodded, took out my phone, opened an audio file, and pressed play. My mother's sharp, guilty voice filled the living room. Did you save it in Li Wei's account? Li Wei's face went white, while Wang Li's expression changed by the second. I stopped the recording and looked at them. Do you also want to see the bank statements? Li Wei deflated like a fighter who had lost the match. I gave him my final terms. 1 week. Return every cent of the 1.368 million yuan. If the money isn't in my account by then, the recording and bank statements go to 2 places, the court and your future in-laws. My words shattered everything Li Wei and Wang Li had built, the fake prosperity funded by my money. Wang Li's face drained of color. She looked from me to Li Wei. Her shock slowly turned into scrutiny, suspicion, and finally open disgust. I said nothing more. The warning had been delivered. I took Zhou Yue's hand and left. Neither Li Wei nor Wang Li stopped us. They stood frozen like empty statues until the door slammed behind us. In the elevator, I could hear our breathing clearly. The mirrored walls reflected 2 calm faces, both exhausted after the storm. Let's go home. Zhu Yue nodded and rested her head on my shoulder. I knew the real storm had only begun. Behind that closed door, another war was already erupting. 1.368 million. Wang Li's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. Li Wei, explain exactly what's going on. Li Wei kept his head down. It's just... Mom said my brother's money was sitting there anyway. Smack! The slap rang through the room. Wang Li's hand trembled. If your mother tells you to steal, you just steal? Li Wei clutched his cheek and finally snapped. What's wrong with spending a little of my brother's money? A little? Over 1 million is a little? Do you understand what this means? Wang Li pointed around the luxurious apartment. It means the home under our feet was bought with stolen money. The car was bought with stolen money. Even the diamond ring on my hand was bought with stolen money. I agreed to marry an ambitious man, not a parasite living off his brother. Every word struck deep. Li Wei's face went from red to white, then gray. How can you say that about me? Am I wrong? Wang Li looked at him coldly. You earn only 8,000 yuan a month. How could you possibly afford the down payment and renovations here? I thought it was your parents' savings. I never imagined your whole family had taken it from your brother. She took a deep breath, her eyes filled with resolve. Listen carefully, Li Wei. I don't care how you do it. If that money isn't repaid within 1 week, we're done and the wedding is canceled. I refuse to be humiliated like this. She turned, marched into the bedroom, and slammed the door. Li Wei stood alone in the living room. His cheek burned, but his heart hurt more. He knew Wang Li meant it. If he couldn't repay the money, the wedding was over. With trembling fingers, he called his only lifeline, the woman who had pushed him into this mess and the only one he thought could pull him out. The moment she answered, he burst into tears. Mom, we're in trouble. Liu Mei had been pacing at home, waiting all afternoon for news. She believed I'd merely lost my temper and that blood ties would eventually win. She had even prepared her speech. Once I apologized, she would gracefully forgive me and the family would be whole again. The money could be made up to Zhou Yue later. What's wrong? Stop crying, you useless thing, she snapped, trying to hide her own panic. Li Wei exaggerated the story, focusing on my cruelty and Wang Li's ultimatum. Mom, the down payment, renovations, and car all came from brother's money. If this goes to court, will they take everything back? I'll have nothing. His fear traveled clearly through the phone, and Liu Mei's heart sank. What she feared most had happened. Her normally obedient son was truly ready to cut ties. Why panic? The sky isn't falling. Her mind raced for a solution. Repayment was impossible. The money had become a home, a car, and Li Wei's status. She had no intention of giving it back. If being nice won't work, we'll use force. Don't panic and don't go after Wang Li. Liu Mei lowered her voice. Stay out of this. Mom will handle it. I know your brother better than anyone. He's stubborn, but he has one fatal weakness. He's dutiful and cares more than anything about the family. Mom, you mean? A cold smile curled across Liu Mei's lips. He wants to cut us off for an outsider? Fine. I'll show him what abandoning this family costs. I'll tell every relative what an ungrateful son Li Hao is until he can't hold his head up anywhere in the family. It was social blackmail, a net woven from family loyalty and moral guilt, designed to trap me until I surrendered. Mom, is that really a good idea? Li Wei still hesitated. We won't know until we try. Wait there. I'm calling your uncle, your second aunt, and your grandparents right now. Tomorrow, we'll hold a full family meeting at your grandfather's house. Let's see if he still acts so tough in front of every elder. Liu Mei hung up without hesitation and immediately began searching through her contacts. She called the first number. The moment someone answered, her voice turned tragic and wounded. Hello, is this Big Brother? It's Liu Mei. You have to stand up for me, my son Li Hao. He's trying to drive me to my death. And just like that, a carefully staged family trial against me began, while I knew nothing about it. That evening, after Zhou Yue and I finished dinner, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar landline. I answered, Hello, Xiao Hao? An old commanding voice came through the phone. Grandpa, I was surprised. Come to my place at 10 tomorrow morning and bring Zhou Yue. Your mother, your brother, and all the family elders will be here. You two brothers will settle this in front of everyone. Then he hung up. I stood frozen with the phone in my hand and looked at Zhou Yue. Her eyes were clear. She knew this was an ambush, too. She quietly said 3 words. Let's go see. At 9:30 the next morning, Zhou Yue and I headed to Grandpa's home. The old apartment complex held every memory of my childhood and had once felt like my safest harbor. Today, though, it felt like I was walking toward an execution ground. Zhou Yue stayed quiet the whole way, her calm face unreadable. But as I held her hand, I felt the steady strength in her palm. Don't be afraid, she told me. We're not the ones who should be scared. We climbed the stairs side by side. The door was ajar. Muted voices and my mother's broken sobs came from inside. I took a deep breath and pushed it open. The living room was packed. Grandpa and Grandma sat at the head with stern faces. My eldest uncle, second aunt, and several relatives whose exact titles I barely knew lined both sofas like a full tribunal. My mother, Liu Mei, and Li Wei sat on small stools. Her eyes were swollen as she dabbed at tears. Li Wei kept his head down, looking defeated. The moment we entered, every voice stopped. More than a dozen pairs of eyes snapped toward us, as if we were the ones guilty of some unforgivable crime. You're here. Grandpa tapped his cane with a dull thud. Sit. He pointed to 2 chairs placed in the center of the room, facing everyone, like seats for 2 defendants awaiting judgment. Zhou Yue and I exchanged a look, then sat down calmly. Everyone's here, Grandpa said, looking around. I called you all here for one reason, the matter between these 2 brothers. He looked at me, then at Li Wei. Xiao Hao, your mother says you want to cut off your brother and take him to court. She says you worked hard for this family, but the moment your brother used a little of that money, you turned on him. She also says Zhou Yue put you up to all of this. Is that true? His voice was quiet, but every word landed like a hammer. He had already decided I was guilty. Before I could answer, my mother began sobbing right on cue. Dad, don't ask anymore, she wailed. It's all my fault. I failed as a mother. I shouldn't have saved money for my sons or helped my younger boy. I raised an ungrateful monster. After everything I did, he wants to send me to prison for an outsider. As she cried, she cut Zhou Yue with a vicious glare. Xiao Hao, how can you speak to your mother like that? My second aunt attacked first. What family problem can't be discussed calmly? Why drag it into court? My eldest uncle frowned too. So your brother used some of your money? So what? Is he a stranger? Blood is blood. You got married and forgot your own mother. The accusations flew at me like knives. No one asked what had actually happened. They only believed my mother's one-sided story as the victim. In their eyes, age and blood outranked everything. As the older brother, I owed Li Wei unlimited help. As a son, I owed my mother blind obedience. Zhou Yue was merely an outsider. Li Wei kept his head down, shoulders shaking as if he felt guilty. But whenever he glanced up, I caught a flash of smug satisfaction. That was their plan. Crush me under the weight of the entire family. Once everyone finished speaking, they waited for my apology and surrender. Grandpa tapped his cane again. Xiao Hao, you've heard everyone. Are your mother and brother your family or not? For my sake, and for our ancestors, will you let this go? He stared me down. Hand over the recordings and bank statements, delete them in front of everyone, then apologize to your mother and brother. After that, you'll still be a family. I looked at Grandpa's stern face. His words sounded like a final royal decree. No argument, only obedience. The air in the room felt heavy enough to drip. Every eye fixed on me like a pack of predators, waiting for me to lower my head and let them trample my dignity. My mother's sobs faded into smug sniffles. Li Wei lifted his head slightly, and the corner of his mouth seemed to curl almost imperceptibly. They had won, or at least they thought they had. In the deathly silence, I let out a quiet laugh. Grandpa's brows knotted. What are you laughing at? His irritation was obvious. I didn't answer. I slowly stood, and Zhou Yue rose too, moving beside me. Then I pulled out my phone and pressed play in front of everyone. A sharp, cruel, painfully familiar woman's voice instantly filled the living room. I gave you 300 yen because I was being generous, and you still complain to Li Hao? Listen, Zhou Yue, money doesn't grow on trees in the Li family. The room went dead silent. My mother's face drained white as she stared at my phone like she'd seen a ghost. The recording kept playing. My furious voice came through. 300? That's the 30,000 yuan living allowance you claimed you gave her? Then came my mother's shameless excuse. I give her 30,000 every month. How she spends it is her problem. It's gone in days. On the recording, I pressed harder. Then where's the other 59,700? Where did the money go? I saved it for you two, of course. It was for your own good. Saved it? You mean transferred it to Li Wei's account, right? Here came the key line. Everyone held their breath as a voice overflowing with guilt answered. How did you know? That reflexive question said more than any confession. It was ironclad proof. All the color vanished from Li Wei's face. He collapsed on the stool. My mother trembled from head to toe, lips quivering, unable to say a word. Then the recording ended. I stopped the audio, slipped my phone back into my pocket, and said nothing. My cold gaze swept across every face before settling on Grandpa. His hand clenched the cane, veins bulging across the back of it. He opened his mouth but couldn't speak. The family's so-called justice and authority had shattered under one short recording. The room that had been so loud was now quiet enough to hear heartbeats. No one dared speak. Truth had slapped every person there, and the sting was brutal. My mother, Liu Mei, shot up from the stool. Hair wild and face twisted. She looked past me and every relative, locking her eyes on Zhou Yue. Her stare looked ready to swallow Zhou Yue alive. You! This is all because of you, you vicious woman! She lunged at Zhou Yue, screaming, You set me up! You trapped me! I'll kill you for tearing this family apart! I was ready. I stepped in front of Zhou Yue, caught my mother's swinging arm, and shoved it away. She staggered back and fell hard onto the floor. Enough! Even now you're still trying to blame someone else? My mother sat on the floor and began howling. This time it wasn't acting. It was a real hysterical collapse. I can't live with this shame. I did everything for this family. What did I do wrong? Li Wei is your brother. Why can't you help him? Are you really going to drive your own mother to death? She played the family card again, trying to guilt-trip me, but it was far too late. Grandpa, I said, turning away from her toward the old man at the head of the room. Do you still think I owe them an apology? Grandpa's face shifted from green to pale. He slammed his cane against the floor. Outrageous, absolutely outrageous. But this time, he wasn't shouting at me. He was shouting at Liu Mei on the floor and the shell-shocked Li Wei beside her. Liu Mei, shut your mouth! Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? And you, Li Wei! Grandpa pointed his cane at my brother. You dared take your brother's money? Did all your education go to waste? Every cent must be paid back. Grandpa finally delivered his verdict. Li Wei flinched violently, and my mother's crying stopped dead. Dad, we can't pay it back, she screamed. The money went into the house and the car. How are we supposed to return it? Grandpa didn't budge. Sell the house. Sell the car. That money will be repaid. I watched the farce without the slightest satisfaction. I had never wanted Grandpa's version of justice. I wanted complete freedom. No need, I said calmly. Everyone looked at me. Whether he repays it has nothing to do with any of you. This is between him and me. I'll handle it legally. I paused and looked at every person in the room. From today on, Zhou Yue and I have no relationship with any of you. Grandpa, Grandma, Uncle, Aunt, those titles end today. From now on, we're strangers. I stopped looking at their faces and took Zhou Yue's hand. Let's go. We turned toward the door. Behind us, Grandpa roared in fury. You ungrateful son! You're abandoning the entire family? My mother cried out in despair. Li Hao, you can't leave. What am I supposed to do if you go? I never looked back. Holding Zhou Yue's hand, I walked forward one firm step at a time. I pushed open the heavy wooden door, and bright sunlight spilled over us, warm and free. We said nothing on the way home, but our tightly joined hands said everything. It wasn't the pain of being hurt. It was the relief of finally setting down a crushing weight. It was the freedom of breaking every chain. Back in the first home that truly belonged only to us, I shut the door and left all the chaos outside. Zhou Yue walked to the window and pulled every curtain open. Sunlight rushed in and flooded the living room. She looked at me, eyes shining like stars. Li Hao, I want hot pot. Okay. I smiled and nodded. Let's go buy the ingredients right now. We went to the big supermarket downstairs. For the first time since our wedding, we wandered the aisles like an ordinary couple, slowly pushing a cart past shelves overflowing with choices. It felt unreal. Zhou Yue's eyes sparkled like a child seeing everything for the first time. She picked up a premium tray of marbled beef, checked the price, and instinctively moved to put it back. I took it from her and dropped it straight into the cart. From now on, if you want it, we buy it. You never have to check the price again. Zhou Yu's eyes instantly reddened. She said nothing, only nodded hard. We bought everything: fresh tripe, crunchy pork aorta, handmade shrimp paste, and piles of vegetables and mushrooms. Back home, we worked together in the kitchen. She washed vegetables while I sliced meat. We chatted about nothing important as the room filled with food and the warm scent of something called home. The broth soon bubbled fiercely, red chili oil rolling across the surface and filling the room with fragrance. We sat at the table before the steaming pot. It felt as though all the hurt and coldness of the past 2 years could melt in that boiling broth. I swished a slice of beef for a few seconds, placed it in Zhou Yue's bowl and said, "Try it." She blew on it, carefully put it in her mouth, and suddenly tears fell into her dipping sauce. "What's wrong? Is it bad?" I panicked. She shook her head, laughing through tears. "No, it's so good. I just feel like I've waited far too long for a day like this." I reached out and wiped her tears away. "I'm sorry. You'll never have to wait that long again. Our good days are only beginning." Zhou Yue and I looked at each other and smiled. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I checked it and found a bank notification. "Dear customer, your account ending in 1234 has received 200,000 yuan. Sender, Li Wei." He had started paying me back. Apparently, Wang Li's pressure worked far better on him than the entire family's pressure had worked on me. I put the phone away without telling Zhou Yue. Let this beautiful moment last a little longer. We ate hot pot from sunset until nightfall and finished every last bite. It was the most satisfying meal of my life. Because I knew we weren't just eating hot pot. We were tasting a new beginning. The peace lasted less than a week. Those few days were the first time Zhou Yue and I truly felt married. I gave her my salary card again and changed the PIN to her birthday. From that day on, she alone controlled our household finances. She held the card and cried for a long time. Li Wei's repayments came in gradually. He texted, begging for a few extra days because he was listing his house. I replied with only 2 words: as soon as possible. I thought everything would slowly end through money and the law. I underestimated how vicious my mother could be. A woman stripped of control and exposed in every lie can strike back like a snake, cold and deadly. That afternoon, I was in an important project meeting when my phone buzzed in silent mode. A coworker, Xiao Zhang, had texted, "How? Get downstairs. Now! Your mother's in the lobby asking for you." My heart dropped. I excused myself to my supervisor, rushed out, and took the elevator straight to the first floor. The doors opened, and shouting and sobbing flooded my ears. At the center of the crowd, my mother sat on the cold marble floor. Her hair was messy, her clothes disheveled, tear tracks streaking her face as she slapped her thighs and wailed. "I raised my son through endless hardship, and now he's trying to kill me. He earns 60,000 a month and gives it all to that gold digger. She won't give his elderly parents a cent and is stealing him from us. He won't even acknowledge his own mother and wants to throw me out." People whispered and pointed. Their eyes were full of sympathy, but only for her. The looks aimed at me were filled with contempt. Blood rushed to my head. This was my mother. To get what she wanted, she would destroy my career and my life without hesitation. I pushed through the crowd and stood before her. "Mom, this is my workplace, not a stage for your tantrum." The second she saw me, she cried even harder. "So you finally came out, you heartless son." She struggled up and grabbed from my legs, milking the scene. "Give me an answer today or I'll die right here." I ignored the performance and turned to the security captain who had arrived. "Captain Wang, please escort this woman out. If she refuses, call the police. Tell them someone is causing a public disturbance and seriously disrupting company operations." Everyone froze, including Lu Mei on the floor. She hadn't expected me to be so firm. The guards hesitated, looking from me to her. "What are you waiting for?" Authority entered my voice. "I mean exactly what I say." The guard stopped hesitating and lifted Lu Mei by both arms. She thrashed wildly. "What are you doing? Let go! I'm his mother! Li Hao, you'll die a miserable death. Karma will get you." Expressionless, I watched 2 guards drag her through the front doors. The lobby fell quiet, but every gaze still burned into me like a spotlight. I knew the storm had only begun. My career, and perhaps my entire life, now carried the dark stain of my mother's spectacle. After she was removed, the lobby felt painfully strange. My coworkers looked at me with sympathy and curiosity, but mostly with distance. No one wanted to get too close to an allegedly ungrateful son. Rumors spread through the company like a virus. My project manager called me into his office. He didn't scold me. He only sighed. "Lee Hao, you need to handle your family situation. This company is about performance, but we also care about character. I don't want this situation affecting you, or the entire team." He phrased it gently, but I understood. It was a warning. If I couldn't contain this, my future at the company was over. I nodded. "Don't worry, sir. I promise there won't be a next time." When I left his office, the pressure felt crushing. My mother's move had hit exactly where it hurt most. She wanted to destroy my income, isolate me from everyone, and corner me until I had nowhere left to go except back to her, back to being her puppet. I sat at my desk, rubbing my temples. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Zhou Yue. My mom called. My heart skipped. I called her immediately. What did she say? Zhou Yue sounded calm, but beneath that calm was a tightly suppressed tremble. She cursed me out, said I had no shame and manipulated you into disrespecting your parents. Your mom called her crying, claiming we were driving both your parents to their deaths. She told me to divorce you immediately, go home, and stop embarrassing the family. My fists clenched. My mother had truly lost it. After causing a scene at my office, she had gone after Zhou Yue's family too, trying to push both of us to the edge. What did you tell her? My voice came out hoarse. I explained everything, Zhou Yue said, her voice growing steadier. I told her the truth and said I could send her the recording and bank statements if she didn't believe me. I also told her Lee Hao is my husband, and no matter what happens, I will stand beside him. Then I said, if she listens to that woman's one-sided story and questions me again, we should stop contacting each other. My eyes burned as I listened. When the whole world misunderstood me, Zhou Yue chose me without hesitation. I'm sorry you had to endure this. We're husband and wife, don't apologize for that. Zhou Yue paused. My parents are coming tomorrow. They want to hear the full story from us and see the evidence themselves. I agreed immediately. Of course, I owe your parents a proper explanation. I stared at the traffic outside, feeling cold inside. Liu Mei had finally torn off every mask and declared war on us in the cruelest way possible. She thought she could break us. She was wrong. The more unhinged she became, the farther she pushed me away. This was one battle I could not lose, for Zhou Yue and for myself. The next day, Zhou Yue's parents came from a neighboring city. Travel-worn and deeply worried, they met me at the station. By the time we reached home, Zhou Yue had tea ready. Dad. Mom. Her eyes reddened at once. Her mother held her hands and studied her face, searching for every hurt she had hidden. I didn't offer excuses. I placed my phone and the small notebook on the coffee table. Mom, Dad, please look at this first. I played the full recording and opened the notebook listing every 300 yuan payment. Her father put on his reading glasses and picked it up. Her mother leaned close to the phone. The room held only my mother's cruel voice from the recording and the soft rustle of pages turning. Their expressions changed with every line, from doubt to shock to disbelief. When they heard my mother admit she had transferred the money to Li Wei, her father's hand froze on the notebook. His fingers trembled with anger. Her mother's face filled with heartbreak as she pulled Zhou Yue into her arms and began to cry. My poor girl, you suffered all of this. Why didn't you tell us? Zhou Yue collapsed into her mother's embrace, and the tears she had held back for so long finally broke free. The recording ended. The truth was clear. Her father removed his glasses and sighed heavily. When he looked at me, the suspicion was gone, replaced by regret. Xiao Hao, we misjudged you. This must have been incredibly hard. I shook my head. Dad, I'm the one who should apologize. I failed to protect Zhou Yue and let her suffer for so long. Once the misunderstanding was cleared, her parents completely changed sides. They stopped mentioning divorce and became just as determined to fight back. That family has gone way too far. Her father slammed the table. Every cent must be recovered, and that woman caused a scene at your office and smeared both your names. We cannot let this slide. Just then, my phone rang from an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? Is this Li Hao? A young woman's voice came through, controlled but urgent. I'm Wang Li. I froze. Li Wei's fiancé. I need to meet you right now. Wang Li and I met at a quiet cafe. She looked far more exhausted than the last time I'd seen her, but her eyes were unusually determined. I came today to make a deal with you, she said without wasting time. What kind of deal? I know you need evidence, not only to recover the money, but to prove what kind of person your mother really is. I have something that can help. She pulled out her phone and opened a photo. It showed an old hardbound notebook with 4 words on the cover, the family ledger. What is that? Your mother's treasure, Wang Li said with a mocking smile. Every yuan she gave your brother after he started college is recorded in that notebook. That includes everything she took from your salary card over the past 2 years. The house, the car, the renovations, every payment is listed. She called it her love for her son and wanted him to remember it forever. My chest tightened. I had never imagined my mother kept something like that. It was the most direct and devastating evidence possible. How did you get this? I photographed it, Wang Li said plainly. Li Wei got drunk 2 nights ago and cried about how much his mother loved him. Then he pulled out the notebook. I knew I should keep a record. I looked at her and instantly understood. What's your condition? Simple. Wang Li met my eyes. When you recover the 1.368 million yuan, sign an agreement releasing me from any related liability. Your brother and I are finished. I refuse to let this family drag my life into the mud. She was smart and ruthless enough to build herself an escape route. Fine, I agree. A verbal promise isn't enough. Your mother keeps the ledger in the safe in her bedroom. I can help you retrieve it, but I need your cooperation. Tonight is our best chance. Wang Li's plan was bold and precise. Your parents play mahjong at the neighborhood game room every Wednesday. They leave at 8 and return at 11:30. That gives us 3.5 hours. I stared at her. Her calm was almost unsettling. How do you know their schedule so well? I've dated Li Wei for 2 years and visited that home countless times. Zhou Yue's mother stayed behind because her heart condition couldn't handle the stress. Her father came with us for moral support and to wait outside as backup. At exactly 8, we watched my parents leave their building, chatting cheerfully as they headed toward the game room. Wang Li approached from another path and nodded. Let's go. The four of us moved like agents in a movie, with the tension cranked to the limit. Wang Li led, skillfully avoiding several camera-covered corners. At the familiar door, she pulled a small toolkit from her bag. I had no idea what the tools were. She worked at the lock for under a minute. A soft click sounded and the door opened into total darkness. Wang Li turned on her phone flashlight. The safe is inside the master bedroom wardrobe, she whispered. We crept into my mother's room, a place I'd rarely entered even as a child. She opened the wardrobe and revealed a gray safe beneath a pile of clothes. My heart pounded in my throat as she crouched and entered the code. Her fingers moved quickly in the dark. When she pressed the final digit, the safe gave a clean electronic click. She pulled open the heavy door. There wasn't much cash, only property deeds, bank books, jewelry, and a dark brown hardbound notebook resting on top. The family ledger. Wang Li handed it to me. The notebook felt heavy, like a stone that had pressed on my heart for more than 20 years. I opened the first page and saw my mother's familiar handwriting. September 2010. Xiao Wei started college. First living allowance, 2,000 yuan. May my son succeed. I couldn't read further. I closed the notebook and held it tightly. Let's go. We retraced our steps and left no trace behind. Back in the car, Zhou Yue's father looked at the ledger and exhaled deeply. I started the engine and drove away from the place holding all my grayest memories. In the rearview mirror, the old apartment building grew smaller. I did not take the ledger directly to my mother. A confrontation would only become another pointless screaming match. I didn't want her remorse. I wanted legal justice and everything that was rightfully ours. The next day, I hired the best lawyer I could find and handed over everything: the recordings, bank records, and the devastating ledger. After reviewing the evidence, the lawyer said only one thing. Mr. Li, we are going to win this case. 1 week later, my mother and Li Wei both received court summonses and a formal demand letter. Copies of several key ledger pages were attached. The black ink, white paper, and unmistakable handwriting were evidence no one could deny. I never saw their faces when they opened it. I only know that relatives called me nonstop that afternoon, some pleading for peace, some accusing me, others acting devastated. I answered none of them. I sent Grandpa one message: Judgment Day has arrived. Before trial, we held one mediation session in a law firm conference room. Zhou Yue, our lawyer, and I sat on one side. My mother, my father, Li Wei, and their lawyer sat opposite us. It was our first meeting since the family tribunal. My mother looked drained, as though she had aged 10 years. The old cruelty and calculation were gone from her eyes, replaced by fear and resentment. Li Wei stared at the table the entire time. My father, normally a silent man, smoked continuously, his face lined with worry. The mediation began. Our lawyer stated our demands calmly and professionally. First, defendants Liu Mei and Li Wei must immediately return 1.368 million yuan in unjustly obtained funds. Second, the defendants must issue a public written apology for causing a disturbance at the plaintiff's workplace, harassing Zhou Yue and her family by phone, and damaging their reputations. If these terms cannot be met, we will end mediation and proceed directly to litigation. At that point, the defendants may face not only civil damages, but potential criminal liability. The words criminal liability hit my mother like a sledgehammer. She snapped her head up and screamed hysterically. I did nothing wrong. It's my son's money. How is spending my son's money a crime? Li Hao, you heartless monster. Are you really sending your own mother to prison? Her lawyer awkwardly tugged her sleeve, trying to calm her down, but she had completely lost control. I never looked at her. I simply told my lawyer, it appears mediation is pointless. Then I stood to leave. My father panicked. He pressed my mother into her chair, crushed out his cigarette, and shouted, "We agree!" His voice was hoarse as he nearly yelled it again. "We agree to mediation." He looked at me with pleading eyes. "Xiao Hao, we'll repay the money. We'll sell the house. Just please don't let her." He couldn't finish. His eyes reddened in front of everyone. I stopped, not because I felt soft, but because the whole thing was tragic. They could have avoided all of this. My mother sagged in her chair, no longer crying or fighting, staring blankly as if surrendering to fate. Li Wei lowered his head even farther. The settlement was finally reached. Within 1 month, they had to sell the property, repay the full amount, and handwrite apology letters to Zhou Yue and me. After signing, I walked out of the law office. The sun was bright outside. Zhou Yue and I looked at each other without speaking. We both knew the days covered in darkness had finally ended. At last, dawn had come to our world. 3 weeks later, my bank account received a massive transfer, 1.368 million yuan. A courier package arrived soon after. Inside were 2 apology letters, one from my mother and one from Li Wei. The handwriting was messy, full of resentment and reluctance. I barely read them. I threw both letters and the ledger into the trash. Some chapters are meant to stay closed. According to Zhou Yue's father, they sold the old home. New owners moved into the house that held more than 20 years of my memories, while the 3 of them relocated to a distant small city. Li Wei reportedly fell apart after that, and my mother became a different person, crying every day. I never contacted them again. Whether their lives turned out well or badly was no longer my concern. My own life changed completely. I resigned from my old company. After my mother's scene, the atmosphere there was no longer a place where I could stay. Using the recovered money and our savings, Zhou Yue and I opened a small design studio. We made our home on the floor above it. It was a modest but cozy top-floor apartment with a large terrace full of flowers and greenery. Zhou Yue transformed. She was no longer quiet, submissive, or resigned. She began learning painting, flower arranging, and baking. She turned our home into a storybook garden. Her face always carried a bright smile, an easy, genuinely happy smile from deep within. Our studio slowly found its footing. I handled design, she ran operations and spoke with clients. We became the perfect business partners and an even stronger married couple. Every day we woke up together, ate breakfast, went downstairs to work, and argued endlessly over tiny creative choices. In the evening we shopped at the market together. She would link her arm through mine and bargain with a vendor forever over a 1 yuan difference. She looked so lively and adorable. Back home, we cooked together in our open kitchen. In the clatter of pots, pans, and dishes, every sound carried the feeling of home.